Welcome to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast, where we hear stories from fellow seamstresses just like you who are able to share their success stories. We learn from wedding industry pros for the best business tips, and we get to hear from fellow sewists and crafters to hopefully inspire our creativity and our love for sewing. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you're a bridal seamstress, I'd also like to invite you to check out our Bridal Seamstress business membership. We have a community of women that can testify to the power of genuine connection, friendship, vulnerability, the power of our six-figure seamstress method, and a genuine connection found in a business mentorship like this. All right, let's dive into the episode. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress, and I'm so excited to be here with Susie Taylor, and she's one of our members in SBS, and I'm just so impressed by her. She's like super organized. She has this great team. She always has these like special like promotions or like fun things that she's doing within her studio. So I'm really excited to have you guys learn more about her and get inspired by Saylor Sewing. So I want to hear, obviously we know that you have a very successful studio now in Nebraska, but let's start at the very beginning.
Sure.
We always like to hear like what were your first projects and how old were you and how rough were those first projects, and then what led to bridal sewing?
I started sewing really young, actually, because I'm actually a third generation seamstress. And my grandma, my great grandma were both seamstress. And so I was like, I shouldn't say this, but I'm grandma's favorite. And
Well, yeah, because you took on the family
I'm
career.
so I was actually just talking to her this week, and we were trying to do the math, and I think she has like 32 grandkids. I
So
don't know
that's a
how many
significant award then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in total it's like 56 or something grandkids and great grandkids. I'm the only one that sews other than my grandma.
Okay.
So of course I'm favorite.
Immediate
Um,
favorite. Yeah.
yeah. So just, every summer I spent there long weekends just sewing side by side with my grandma, and I would um make doll clothes, and then I moved on to like
Perfect.
my own clothes. But yeah,
Which,
and then
okay, don't you feel like doll clothes are harder because everything is so small and all the
yes,
stitches are so small?
yeah,
Like when
yeah.
I think about making doll clothes now, like Barbie clothes, I'm like, why did my mom and I try to do that? Because I feel like that's so hard, you
Well,
know?
my grandma actually does Barbie clothes. I mean, she doesn't anymore just because like her body's not in the same condition it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. I hate
But that was
stitches.
like her thing. Like she made all our Barbie clothes. She used to work for Mattel too. Yeah, so she has
Oh
like,
my goodness.
and she would do like the little like a rolled hem on like Barbie swimsuits and formals, and
Oh
just
my
like
goodness.
I mean, very, very intricate. And I'm like, yeah. And then I had a doll that was, I don't know, maybe 12, 18 inches. No,
Mm-hmm.
12 was too small. Probably about 18 inches. It's a little bit bigger than a Barbie, but I was like doing like strapless dresses for them. And like, I'm like, she's gonna be fancy. She's going out. Like,
The little bitty rolled hem. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta bust out. I don't even know if I still have my Barbies. I wish I kept more of my childhood stuff. I don't know. I guess I wasn't nostalgic when I was packing things up, but that'd be so fun to look back on. Did you ever have an American Girl doll and make
Mm-mm.
clothes for that? Yeah, me neither.
Mm.
We didn't have enough money for that, I
I
don't
didn't
think.
even, yeah, same. I didn't even know what American Girl doll was until like middle school. And I was like,
Oh, too
that,
old, yeah.
I think it was
No,
like
I
a
remember
half
I
birthday.
had two friends that had the American Girl dolls, and I was like, ooh, and then I would get the catalogs, and for some reason I wanted to be Josephine, and she definitely like lived in like New Mexico, and I don't know why I thought that I most resembled her. But I think I wanted to because I thought she was like the prettiest. I definitely did not. Maybe like I don't know, maybe more Samantha. But anyway, that's one of those things that I've seen a lot of like adults who now like buy the American Girl doll to like live what they wanted to live as a kid. But anyway, so no sewing for American Girl dolls. So what did you
No.
graduate to after Barbie clothes?
I'm myself.
Oh,
So very, very early.
which
So, I mean,
actually isn't that big of a jump because if you know Susie, she's like very petite.
and then, yeah, so I'm petite now. So imagine like, I don't know, it was like fourth, fifth grade me. Like, I was very tiny. So yeah, and I actually still have some of the sewing projects, and oh my gosh, sometimes I'm like, I'll pull them out. I have like this skirt I made in high school to go to a party. It's like
You that
this
you wore
thick.
out.
And I'm like, oh, how did I wear that?
Well, it goes back to the tube top dresses you're making your Barbies. You're like, or
Yeah.
tube skirt for me.
Yeah, I'll have to dig it out and send pictures of you. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we can include that in the show notes. That is so
Yeah.
funny. But congratulations, that's a big jump. So, okay, so you made yourself a party skirt. What else did you make?
I don't know if you remember back in like the early 2000s, late 90s, like it wasn't like corset top, but it had like corset straps and you would just tie it across the back.
Yeah,
Joanne's had
unfortunately.
like, I think it was like a line of groovy patterns and it had um, like flowers on like the packaging, but it was like, I think it was like McCall's or something. I
Hmm.
can't remember. It was like one of the big brands and they carried it at Joann's. And so my grandma and I would go and we'd get like these really cool, like iridescent fabrics and I would make like these like I mean, I was never allowed to wear any of this stuff that I made
That's the
because
best
it was like
part.
the cool
It's just like
thing, you know?
Susie playing dress up in her room with the stuff
Yep.
that she makes but can't leave the house. That is so cute. So
Yeah.
were you like, okay, this is gonna be my life, I'm gonna sew forever? Or when did that become a career choice?
Yeah, I really did think I was going to sew forever. And then when I got to high school, they have really good design programs out in California. And so
Hmm.
in high school I took like design classes and a lot of my classmates went on to be designers or work for like major fashion
Wow.
houses. And I don't know, it just like I didn't really want to do that. Like it just
Hmm.
the lifestyle just didn't sit with me and I kind of like fought against the grain for a long time and I was like,
Hmm.
what can I do that's like sewing but not fashion? Like I don't want
Hmm.
to do like the whole like design element of it. Like I don't know, it was really tough and it took me a long time and I took like I moved out here actually from
Yeah,
California
okay,
right
so
at
I didn't even realize
18.
that you grew up in California. I missed that part. So,
Yep.
wait, so then what brought you, yeah, to Nebraska?
Um,
Quite the change.
Yeah, I mean, California is just like a really rough place to live. It's really hard. And so the decision was to stay there and probably live with my parents for my whole life
Hmm.
or move out and find like my own path.
Yeah.
And so my mom's twin sister actually lived out here. My older brother already lived out
Oh,
here.
okay.
So when I moved out here, I actually lived with my older brother for a little bit until
Hmm.
I got, myself on the ground. Um, but yeah, I mean, it took me a good, so I moved out here at 18. I didn't start sewing as a career until maybe like 23, 24.
Oh, for real?
It was a while, yeah. And I tried like different stuff. Like when I finally found the job as a seamstress, I was actually working reception part-time and I already had my first son. And so I was doing part-time and I was working as a
Wait, what year was
receptionist.
this? Did you just say 23, 24?
Okay, so let
Or
me
you
think.
think
He
13,
would have
14?
been he would have been 2 when I started. So 2010?
Okay, so okay,
Yeah.
we were off a decade. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah. It was a while ago.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so I was working as a receptionist and I would like literally take sewing projects to work with me and I'm answering calls and I'd be like hand sewing. And I remember he was an Ewok for Halloween that year, and I had taken an old leather glove and took it apart and used that for the soles of like his Ewok costume. And I was hand stitching the leather glove onto the bottom of the soles. And I'm like doing this, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I here? Like, I'm miserable at this job. Um,
Hmm.
this is obviously what I want to do. And so I just like spent a lot of time Googling and like looking on like at the time it was like monster.com, like
Yes.
sewing careers and all this stuff. And just by chance, I stumbled across an ad for a job opening for an alteration studio. And it was like young, fresh environment, a lot of fun. And I was like, young? What young people sew? Like that's that's not real,
False
right?
advertising.
Almost. I was like, oh, it's a monster ad. And I was like, I'm gonna reply and see how this goes. And then I got an interview. And even then, I was really nervous because I'm like, I didn't believe it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm totally getting catfish. I'm gonna get murdered. Like,
Were they
and
young and fun though? Was the interview young
they
and
were,
fun?
the owner was in her 30s when I started
Okay.
there, like early 30s. But when I got there, it was um closed. They were closed. It was like a Monday, so it was their sew day. And I'm like, all the lights are off. And I like even text my husband. I'm like, okay, this is the place, this is the address I'm at, like in case anything happens. I seriously thought I was like gonna get murdered or
Yeah.
something, kidnapped, because I was
Let's
like,
put
this
an ad in for a seamstress to get the perfect victim.
this I was like, this isn't real. But then it went great. Like, and I worked there for 5 years until I realized like it wasn't the correct environment for me.
Hmm.
And I had outgrown being there. And I mean, if I'm being honest, the pay was not awesome, and I was
Yeah.
literally paying to work there because I had like childcare costs on top of it. So I
Oh
was
yeah.
actually um, paying more in childcare costs than I was actually making working there.
Yeah.
So I was like, what am I doing here? I'm only here because this is my passion. This is what I love to do, but I'm not making anything. And I was being stubborn leaving. So slowly I was like, why don't I just do this myself?
Hmm.
And so I did just that. I was like just sewing from home, started with like a few friends and family members. And then I was like, you know what, I can do this. And I left and just, it doesn't stop from there. You tell people you know how to sew, and then everybody has something for you.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah.
And probably too because of what you grew up doing, like the kind of sewing that you did alterations come like easily for you, or were there some learning curves from like going from like following patterns to, because altering is different. There are some different skills. But then again, like once you understand like garment construction, it's like
Yeah.
kind of
I
move
learned both
quickly.
growing up, though.
Oh,
Just being a
okay.
really petite person,
Mm-hmm.
I always needed everything altered. So, my grandma always like walked me through all that stuff. I needed everything hemmed. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I knew how to do all of that really young. But I think I have a really good understanding of deconstructing things. And I feel like I have a good memory too on like going back in my memory and remembering how I did something like 5 years ago and how I could apply it in
Mm-hmm.
something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of like brain work, a lot of math, and a lot of science, and a lot of that fascinates me. I
Yeah.
love math, and people are like, it's so weird. And then people also don't understand how um much math is actually involved in sewing.
Yes, it's
And
not
so,
just like, oh, creative, like let's like we're just kind of like in La La Land sewing. It's like, there
yes,
it's like a puzzle. So the alterations is
yes,
different than
yes,
like, I don't know what other kind of creative like needle arts. I feel like every needle art has like, yes, we're probably drawn to like textiles and colors, and I love like things that I can touch, but like there's definitely thinking involved and
mhm,
like the planning out and the math and that puzzle side of our brains, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always comparing it to like an escape room when people tell me like if I'm taking apart this wedding dress and now I have to get back and put it back together, how am I going to do that?
Working on your dress is like being in an escape room. That's so funny. But yes, and I was just talking to somebody last night about how like if I can't figure something out, like I'll leave and I'll just like pray to like dream about it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, but it like either, and I don't know if it's like literally I'm sleeping and it's a dream or if I'm just kind of like in and out and it's like kind of like on my way to sleep, I come up with the idea, but it's almost like when my brain is relaxed and it's like, oh yeah, you just do this. So
Yeah.
when you were saying how you will remember things that you've done like 5 years ago, that's so true too. Because it's like
Hmm.
you'll pick up a skill and then it's like, okay, well, the next couple of years I don't see a similar dress, and then all of a sudden you have it back in your studio or whatever, and it's like, okay, this is what, but that's another thing where I have to like go home and like let go of it and then just kind of like let the memories come instead of like freaking out, trying to like force it to work. So did you do bridal right away then when you started your business, or were you just kind of doing whatever?
So to start, obviously it's like everyone starting, you take what you can get.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was doing a lot of like custom costumes. I love doing costumes. It's so much fun, but I've discovered I just don't want to do that for other people.
Yeah.
And so
Because it
that
takes
took a
the fun
little
out of
bit.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to create for myself, not for other people.
Yeah.
So I did know that. And I was probably maybe just 2 years in, maybe when I started doing bridal. And actually, my first wedding gown was my best friend. So that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I helped her pick out the dress. So I knew like
You're like, not that
it
one.
will be
Let's do
easy.
this
Yeah.
one. That's so funny.
Um, but I mean, I was already doing formals from the
Yeah.
start. So, I mean, it's just the next step up.
It
So,
is. I think it's just kind of like a more of like a mindset thing of like the pressure of the wedding
mhm.
dress, but it's still the same skills, you know?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, yeah, thinking of like the first projects that came through, I remember somebody came to me with like a garbage bag, and I don't even know where I was like advertising, I guess just on Facebook. And I think it was like literally just my personal Facebook. And then somebody like shared my announcement that I was like, oh, I'm taking alterations because I had like random people coming to my house dropping
Oh
stuff
my
off. You know
gosh.
what I mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
how? I don't even remember how like was like, oh, here's my address. But this woman came with like a garbage bag full of like cloth diapers, like flannel cloth diapers, and she wanted all the Velcro replaced. And I was like, sure. And I mean, I don't even remember how many cloth diapers, at least like 2 dozen. No, had to be like 40. I remember charging her $50 and I replaced all of that Velcro. And like, do you know how much a pain it is to take off
Oh my
old crusty
God.
Velcro? So I'm like, yeah, I like wasted 2 weeks of my life on that project, but you know, it was a job. So I was like, yay, tell your friends, okay? And then somebody else wanted me to make this like an elephant stuffed animal. I didn't know how to make stuffed animals, and that's a whole new skill set, you know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
her mom had this stuffed animal that was named Peanut, and then like she sent me like a picture, and like I like embroidered the word peanut in her mom's handwriting,
Oh my
like, and
gosh.
again, that was like a $40 commission, you know what I mean? Like it was just like, I'll take whatever. So those early days, it was just whatever, could come in the door.
Hmm.
But I do remember my first wedding dress too, obviously. And then it was like, oh, a whole new world. Like this is a different game,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Did you decide to just do bridal? No, because I feel like you guys still do general alts
We
ish.
still do. And honestly, like I feel like general is kind of like my passion project.
Oh.
Like I do eat a lot of costs in doing it, but at the same time, like I find joy in it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, that's okay sometimes, but it's definitely not the breadwinner of my business.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I want to say probably a little bit before I opened up my shop, which would have been 3 years ago, I was very tempted to throw in the towel with bridal because I was just like so over it. Like people expect so much and want to pay so little, and I was just not
Mm.
attracting the right audience. And I mean, we're in the Midwest, so everything is still very, very laced.
Yeah.
And I think that was the tough thing is, I could do a bridal gown, no problem, and still make, a decent amount. But it was when I would get
Mm-hmm.
these unpredictable lace dresses, and I wasn't sure, like, is this going to take me an hour? Is it going to take me 6 hours to take off this lace?
Mm-hmm.
And they were just never priced enough. And on top of it, I'm very undercut in my area,
Mm.
which we've talked about plenty of times.
Yeah.
And so my prices were in comparison to everybody else's. So I felt that's what I had to charge. And I wasn't making anything. I was like losing so much money and making more in my general alts than I was doing bridal. I'm like, do I really
Whoa.
want to do this?
Yeah.
Because I was just sucking away my time, removing lace all the time. making too
Those
much.
dang
And
Midwest dresses.
yeah, so I mean, I think just moving to the space really gave me a swift kick in the butt to raise my
Mm,
prices and charge my value for sure.
yeah. How soon did you realize you needed like team members?
Um, Pretty quickly
Okay.
because I opened in March and then I hired Melissa in June.
Oh,
So,
wow.
which I knew I was going to need help right away, and my sister-in-law actually worked reception for me
Oh,
for the
cool.
first couple of months. And then when she was ready to be done, I was like, okay, gotta hire somebody for real now. Yeah.
So how many sewists do you have in addition to your like front desk help?
We don't have front desk help.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're appointment only.
Okay,
So
nice.
your seamstress is your help. When you walk in the door, she's checking you in and she's doing your
Okay, cool.
fitting. So
And then how many do
um
you have?
three.
Okay. Well, that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you do when you feel like you have slower months? Are you taking in general alts or what are you kind of doing to buffer that income or the revenue?
Yeah, so we do take general alts during our slow season, which
Mm-hmm.
is just like November through February. So it's not a huge month or a huge amount of time. I will say like probably maybe January, it's like nobody,
Yeah.
hardly anybody.
Yeah.
But we really try and front load our spring brides because we just get
Mm-hmm.
so many May and June. So then they just push up into the year. Once we're booked up for May and June, then they start coming in and, you know, in the
Mm-hmm.
earlier months. And then this year, I'm going to continue this incentive where if you're starting your alterations in January, we're doing an upgrade for package.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so that way we can just bring in some business during our slower
That's a great
months.
idea. And then also you're not like giving a discount on your ultra on the work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't like when people come in shouldn't change like your the cost of your work, but I love the idea of just upgrading. So it's like okay, you get like a free steam or
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Which I guess yeah, it's still but it's different than like I feel like the time steaming is different than the time like taking a dress apart and sewing and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a discount on like alterations or on preservation or something. So what I love about where did your name come from? I always wanted to ask that. Yeah, that's it's so cute. Sailor Sews or
I
Sailor Sewing.
know. So actually, my maiden name is Sanchez, and my
Oh.
husband's last name is Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
And we neither of us are tied to our last name. So I mean, growing up in California, like, everybody's last name was Sanchez. So I was like, oh, I can't wait till I can get married and change my last name.
To Taylor, which is like also super common.
Yes. And so, well, and my husband's not tied to his name because it's neither his father's name or his mother's name. It's his mother's
Mm.
name through marriage from his stepdad and not him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so, and then his mom and stepdad are no longer married either. So it's just like this how like all his siblings share that name because of that marriage. So it's none of us were really tied to it. So when we were gonna get married, we're like, well, let's just change our name to Sailor. And we were gonna combine it. But we already had our first child, and his last name was Taylor.
Oh,
Um, so it would have just been a huge hassle to go
yeah.
ahead and change our name because we'd have to change all of us. And, the legal process when it's not through marriage is a lot more difficult. So it would have been hard with a child. It's a lot
Mm-hmm.
harder to change a last name. So we didn't do it. We just kept the name Taylor. But then when I decided to rebrand my business to like, because it was just my name
Mm-hmm.
before.
Yeah.
I wanted to honor that. I work with brides a lot, and I sort of wanted to share my personal journey and our love story along with the name of
Oh
my
my
business. So
gosh.
yeah.
I love that. Okay, that is like super, super cute because I'm like, is it like S like for Susie Taylor? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, it's something's going on there, but that is like a way cuter version than I was anticipating. So that is so sweet. And I love to ask brides like, okay, are you taking the new last name? Like, what's the new name going to be? Because it's kind of like a big deal, you know? And
Yeah.
like, I had a Fitzgerald last year, and I'm like, you can't give that up because it's such a great last name, you know? But she did. And then there was another Gold, and she was going to like hyphenate because I'm like, yeah, Gold is obviously a great last name, but there's a lot to a name, you know? So
Yeah.
I was kind of excited to get a new last. Well, I mean, I liked my maiden name, but it was Funchin, and it was spelled like funny, and I don't know, people always mispronounced it, but Bozeman is like it is you read it the way it looks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I just think like hearing the stories of like, okay, what's the new name going to be? I don't know, I love hearing that. So that kind of tied into the question that I
Yeah.
ask a bride every time. So it's so cute. Okay, so what I love about like being on the outside looking in at your business, and it might not feel this way to you because you're like living it, but I love how I feel like you guys do so much in the community, and maybe it's just like again, like what I'm just seeing you post, but I feel like you
Mhm.
guys do the cute like trunk or treat thing, or like your like community harvest party or block parties. So how do you get involved in those kind of things and like prioritize that?
So actually a friend of mine owns a daycare here in our like strip mall area. And the daycare actually hosts like the trunk or treat every year. And we sort of live in like a lower income community and we're right outside. Um, we're not outside city limits, but we're right at the edge of city limits.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing out here for us. So when an event is put on, and it's free, so the community flocks to it. So this year was our third year doing it. And the line went around like literally the entire parking lot. There's like a grocery store and it
Mm-hmm.
literally went entire around the entire grocery store,
Oh
like
my
along the side
gosh.
of it and out through the back. It took like my sister-in-law like an hour to get through the line to actually get to the trunk or treat to get to us. And so it's a really big thing and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We all really love Halloween and costuming. So we vote on our theme early and then we prep for it all year long.
And that's so cute of how it's like a
Yeah.
huge, it's not just like, let's just like put some candy in the trunk. It's like a huge thing with you guys. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just so cute. And then are there other things like, you know, kind of like the benefits of being like in a smaller town or like small town vibes, like that you could take advantage of or that you could like share with like listeners of how we could take advantage of that kind of stuff? Because I think that's such a great brand builder, you know?
I mean, we don't have a whole lot that goes out in this area. So usually when we're doing things, it's going, into town for that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I just got lucky and she she planned it. But I really do just try and network and
Hmm.
meet as many people. I think for me, it's been and I think for any women business owner, when you're making connections in those interactions, it's a lot harder than it is for a man. So whenever I go out and shop or just try and make connections, I try and be intentional with and make sure I'm supporting women small businesses. Just because I know it's that much harder. So if I'm gonna like say do my taxes or like, certain things like
Yeah.
that, I'm gonna try and support the woman bookkeeper before I support the man. And I mean, it's just, for me, I'm more comfortable in that environment too. I know like
Hmm.
the person's not going to talk down to me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's just like I know like I don't know. I don't know if you experienced this being married, but like if you go do certain things with your husband, they're going to direct the questions to your husband and not to you. And I know if I'm supporting a woman, they're going to treat us as equals or they're going to direct the questions to me, the business owner. Um,
Mm,
so
hmm.
that, so yeah.
That is so interesting. But you know what? And this is like, I don't mean to totally get on this whatever soapbox, but I find that it's opposite. People look to me like I'm gonna pay, and I think it's the black and white thing. And so they
Oh,
ask
well,
me
my
the
husband's
question,
black too.
oh, for real?
Yeah.
How come I don't know this? Okay,
Uh,
so you haven't noticed that. And also another thing that I noticed is like when we go anywhere, like if we're getting a coffee, if we're at a restaurant, even though like we're sitting together, we order together, we're always asked, "Are you two together? Are you paying together? Are you two
Wow.
together?"
Yeah.
We get asked that, and now it's like it's like a thing that we just anticipate. We're asked
Well,
all the time.
yeah.
So
I
that's how
mean,
I don't know. I feel like I'm like, okay, because I'm like the white person in this relationship. Like
yeah.
I have the money to, I don't know. It's just weird.
I
It's
no,
like,
I
yeah.
I totally get that. But I know it is funny though because when we go out to restaurants and to eat, I make all the expendable income and my husband pays for like everything else.
So you're the sugar mama on a date.
Well, I mean, he likes to say that, but I mean, he's footing everything. I'm doing the fun stuff, you know? So
Yeah.
when we go out to eat, you know, I'm paying myself and I have cash on me. So when we go to a restaurant, I'm paying cash. And it's just super funny because they always take my husband the bill. And then he just hands it straight to
Oh,
me. And then
yeah.
I put down like 100. And then they're like, you know, they don't know how
Yeah.
to react. And it's just kind of like something we like to chuckle about later. Like it's like, you know, just people like, you know, stereotyping and judging us. And
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
going against that.
Yes. So you're like, I'm going to work with a woman if I can. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And networking, it takes intention and time and like energy and effort. And so just recently, like last week, there was a networking event that like a local wedding vendor put on. And I'm like, I really just want to go home, get my pajamas on, because I like to be in my pajamas by like 6:30. You know what I'm saying? And then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'll go. And it was super fun. And I did make some good connections, follow for follow happened on Instagram, but it was like, it goes against what I naturally want to do, which is like, yeah, just kind of be in my own groove. And I wonder too, do you find it's harder because you're already established? Because sometimes I feel like, all right, I'm already booked for the year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Sweet Francis doesn't need to be super involved, but it is so good to be. But do you kind of find yourself like, okay, we're good? You know what I mean? So maybe I don't need to be as like social and networky.
I mean, I feel like I'm never good.
Oh.
And I think, okay, so Rachel said something during our retreat last time that I feel just like totally resonated. But when you come from a place of struggle, you're never going to be settled because you're going to constantly feel like you have to work hard to be at the place you're at. So I feel like I could just never be complacent at where I'm at. And
Mm.
even when I'm like at a good, safe place, I always feel like it's something that I constantly have to strive and maintain for.
Yeah.
Um, but I just think like I don't intentionally always end up in like these situations where I'm networking, but like with intention, I'm working with women that put me in those situations where I am networking and making those connections.
Yeah, just because you've made that like your way of life now. So
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, I need to go to this event to hand out my card. It's like that's just kind of how you're living your life. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Totally switching gears here. Let's talk about your prom because you
Yeah.
go all out for prom and you have these
I
like
know.
prom promos and little photo shoot, your little disco balls. And I'm like, this is awesome. So tell us how to do that and how to have a successful promotion with our businesses.
So, I mean, I don't, it's tough because I think it's really just by location. And I think I'm lucky. Our prom is pretty big because we have, within our school district and our city alone, we have like probably 7 high schools, and I'm right on the
Whoa.
outskirts of town. So not only am
We
I
have like
pulling,
four. One, two, wait, no.
yeah,
One, two, three, four,
I wish I
five,
had the list
six. We
right
have
here to
six.
show you because I have a printed out list of all the proms that are going on. And so we have, and that's just locally within our city. And because I'm at the edge of town, I get all the smaller towns that are right outside
Hmm.
where, you
Hmm.
know, they're about like maybe a 20-minute drive from us. But we have like,
And you do tux rentals. That's a huge thing.
yeah, yeah,
Somebody, I don't know who keeps calling me about tux rentals, like wanting me to be a whatever, a representative. And I'm like, oh. But
representative.
then I'm
Yeah,
like, hey, I'm like really close to a local high school, so I'm like,
yeah,
maybe I could pick up what Susie's doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let me know if you have questions, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
wholesale. So it's, you don't have to carry anything for it other than swatches.
Yeah.
It's easy. And yeah, I mean, I just love doing like fun stuff and bringing color into our life because we're sewing white majority
Yeah.
of the year.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then just glitter is kind of a hassle, but it's a really short time. It's seasonal. It's like 1 or 2 months of prom stuff. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And then I have quite a few brides already who are my prom girls previously. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm like, I'm meeting them and making those connections with them as teenagers, and they're coming back to me as brides.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's like I feel like around here we like I just don't get many calls for prom. I think they go to the mall a lot. Like there's like a general alts place at the mall. And I think a big thing is like they just don't want to put the money into maybe the
Yeah.
alterations. I don't know, because then I see pictures of some of my friends and their kids are at dances and I'm like, why didn't you get that dress hemmed? You know what I'm saying? So, but I also feel like kind of like where you are and especially like where Rose is, or kind of like probably the different cultures around the country of what's anticipated or how you're supposed to act or how you're supposed to look at a formal event. Because, Pacific Northwest is kind of known for being, well, sloppy.
Oh
We're
no.
a little sloppy out here. So it's like I think there's a lot of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna buy a fancy dress, but then just have it be really long and like drag it around at my
Oh
dance.
no.
Whereas like in different areas of the country, it's like the big formal event. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
But
mean,
you do it so well.
prom is really big for me where I grew up too, but it's really crazy out here. And I actually just discovered last year that a lot of the small towns do this thing it's called a promenade. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh,
And I found out because my son went to prom last year, but we're in a bigger city, so they don't really do it here. But his friend that he went to prom with, his mom is from a small town out here. And so she was like, they're getting ready for prom. And she's like, oh, so are we going to go and take pictures? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, that's
oh
why we're here
yeah.
at the house. We're taking pictures. She goes, no, are we going to go to prom? And I was like, no, that's embarrassing. Why would we go to prom with them? And she goes, because the parents go to prom and take pictures. And I said, no, parents don't go to prom, like, unless you're a chaperone.
Yeah.
And she was saying that, like, I guess in the small towns, um, you go and take pictures of your kids arriving at prom for like the hour. And then when they announce king and queen, they leave. And I was like, yeah, that's not a thing
Oh,
here. And
no.
then as I was like asking people, I was like, oh, that actually is a thing here, but just in the smaller towns. And I found out from one of my brides, I was like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? She goes, oh, I went to my brother's prom. And I'm like, what do you mean you went to your brother's prom? That's so crazy. And then she explained it to me. So they do like this whole thing where they announce the seniors as they arrive, like a
Oh my
demonstration.
gosh.
And they're like, so and so arriving with so and so. And they announce the
Wow.
vehicle, the college that they're going to, their hobbies, the sports and everything that they were in. It's like this whole like to do. And I'm like, how is
No,
it that
does not
I've
happen
been
around here.
yeah, I was like, how is it I've done prom for like all these years and am now just discovering that this
You're
is a
like, how
thing?
come nobody invited me to their promenade?
I know. I
Like,
went
I
to
was
a
the
prom night.
seamstress, dress sewn by.
Yeah, right.
Be part of that announcement. That is no, people go to like, we're in the capital city, so like families go to like the Capitol grounds or like there's a couple pretty places, but not to prom. That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So I can see why, okay, but that really feeds into like your promotion. So good job because way to read the room and then have a promotion appropriate to what goes on in your town.
Yeah, I had no idea.
That's so funny. Yeah, you just do a really good job of like, just, I feel like you take advantage of what you can do. Like, even just taking
Yeah.
on the tux thing, like offering those, like, seeing how you like promote your sales, or even you made it really clear of like when you're taking general alterations and when you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, even just seeing that on the gram was great. So
Yeah.
what's in the, like, what's in the works for the next like 3 years? Or like, do you have like a 3-year plan?
3 years. I don't
Or we
know.
could do 1 year if that's
No,
easier.
yeah, I mean, my lease here is up in 2 years.
Okay.
And so when I leased this place, it required like the build out for it because it was just dirt. Um,
Whoa.
so I had to pay a lot of it, and because it was like a, property management company that also did construction as well, I couldn't outsource my
Mm.
build out. It had to go through them, so it was very pricey, and it's tied into my lease. So
Oh.
my lease is currently like a lot.
Yeah.
So in the next couple of years, when I'm not having to pay for that build out anymore, it's gonna drop. So I'm like, do I want to expand and take on more build out costs? Because I feel like from the minute I moved in here, I outgrew it. But it's like, or do I just want to settle down and fall into what I'm already doing? But I don't know. I enjoy trying new things and stuff. So next year we'll probably do prom consignment. And
Oh,
so we've been
fun.
giving the girls flyers promoting it ahead of time, like, hey, bring your dress back next winter and we're gonna do like a consignment event. But I feel like
Hmm.
that's gonna be sort of like dipping my toes into seeing if I want to like expand on
Yep. Yeah.
consignment outside of just like one annual event. So
Yeah. If you want to pull a Monique and go full in
well,
with
yeah,
that.
Monique and I have had like we had like a whole like Skype call, or I guess not Skype,
Skype.
it's not a thing anymore. FaceTime. Oh, my
Too much
age
talk of the early
showing.
2000s. That's from the past.
Yeah.
But also, poor RIP Skype. Like, why did Zoom blow up? But like, nobody used Skype during the pandemic. Anyway, that's a different conversation for
Yeah.
another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. So you had a Skype call with Monique.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she'll be a great resource for stuff like that. If,
Yeah.
down the road, yeah, you want to do that. Okay, wow. Oh my gosh, the time is like flown by. But before I have you go, I do need you to tell the story of how you got to Charleston because it's such a
Oh
good
my
story.
gosh.
Okay, so to
I'm
set the stage,
still I'm still not even sure. I feel like it's a fever dream. Like, okay, I just remember like
so
knowing.
Charleston was, yeah, our SPS retreat in January. We picked Charleston because supposedly it's warmer than the other parts of the country in
Which
January.
it's supposed to be.
Yes, but that is also the last January retreat that we're going to have. So we're going to switch that up. But all of a sudden, there was like this freak snowstorm happening. And so, of like the 26 people who were supposed to come, we were missing seven. But there are several women, like more than several, who like totally fought to be there. And Susie's one of them. So go ahead, Susie, take it away.
Yeah, so I mean, I just remember I kept checking the weather and I was like, I kept having like in the pit of my stomach, like this feeling like it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get
Hmm.
there. And so I don't know if you even seen like I have my SBS tote bag that I have like my patches that have Austin
Yes.
in there. And I bought the Charleston one and I did not sew it on until the day I left because I was like, I don't want to put it on if I don't go. And I felt like it was gonna be bad juju if I put it on. But I just kept having this feeling. And so I kept checking the weather and I kept checking with everybody. And then I remember like even procrastinating packing. And so the night before I was supposed to go out, my flight was early in the morning. What was it, Friday? We were supposed to get there?
Supposed to get there. Well, originally you're supposed to get there Wednesday.
Okay, so Thursday, it would have been Thursday morning then,
Yeah, so I think your
right?
Wednesday one was
Oh,
canceled. Your Wednesday
Wednesday?
flight was canceled.
Whatever the first day was when I was supposed to get there. Oh yeah, it was Wednesday because my husband had the day off. So
Hmm.
so Wednesday morning, so it's Tuesday night, I took a shower and I'm like, I'm gonna get ready for bed and I'm doing like my wind down, I'm polishing my nails. And that's when like Alex had messaged everybody. It was like, my flight's delayed. And that very first message, it
Oh,
like
that was the first of
snowballed,
many.
snowballed. And so everybody started like their phones are like ping, 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 ping. And I just remember my phone's like going off with like crazy notifications. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I cancel my flight? Like, what's gonna happen? And then it ended up being canceled, I think around like 3 a.m. or something, because I couldn't sleep
Mm-hmm.
at that point. I was just
Oh
too anxious.
yeah.
I stood up, I rebooked my flight for, I don't even remember when I rebooked it for, but it was out of Omaha because I couldn't get a flight locally, which is like an hour drive, so it's not that big of a deal. Um, so I rebooked it for the morning. I got up in the morning and I'm like sitting in the kitchen. I couldn't even eat breakfast. And then I told my
Mm.
husband, no, it's not going to happen. I'm going to rebook it for later in the evening.
Once there's
And
more snow.
so,
Because we all
yeah,
thought it was just gonna like, okay, little
I thought
snowflakes
it
and
was
it'll be fine.
I thought it was like, and for me, I'm like, we have way worse storms. It's not that big of a deal. Like,
Totally.
but he has a brother that lived in North Carolina when it snowed, like National Guard was called in.
Oh yeah.
I
And so
kind
for
of
people
had,
listening, like the issue was that the Charleston airport was closed down for like 36 hours because they had like an inch of snow. So people couldn't fly in, even though like, yeah, like you had snow in Nebraska, but like you could have left, but there was
yeah,
no place to land. Yeah.
yeah. And so I kind of had some perspective and I kept thinking like, okay, if that happened in North Carolina, like in South Carolina, like everything's going to shut down. So I knew that. And so I just kept rebooking my flight for a later time. And it was to the point where I'm driving to Omaha already. This is midday, and as I'm driving, Leslie was like, "I'm stuck. I'm grounded in like I don't even remember where she was, Atlanta."
Atlanta? Yeah.
And all these people are like, "I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here. Like I can't get into Charleston." And I'm like, "Crap! I don't want to get stuck in some like random city by myself. Like."
Yeah.
And so I was just like, that's what I was like really scared of. I didn't want to get stuck in the airport and not have anywhere to go. And I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure how long I was going to be there. And so I
Yeah.
was like, pull over. I'm not going. I can't do this. We went back home and I
I did.
was
Oh
like,
my goodness.
I went home. Yeah. And so I was like so anxious because as all this is happening, I had like maybe 20 bridal inquiries coming in at the same time.
Mm.
To add to the anxiety, I have like all these
Yeah.
inquiries coming in. So I just told he's like, "Do you want to go out to lunch?" I said, "I can't eat." I said, "Get out of here. I just need time to myself." And he went on a bike ride and I stood at home and I just answered all my inquiries. And then I said, "You know what? No, I cannot stay here. I'm going to North Carolina." And so I'm like, who wants to go to North Carolina with me? And then I can't remember who it was. They were like, oh, we're going to North Carolina, but can you get here by this time and you can drive with us? So
Okay.
Jessica's like, yes, meet us in North Carolina. But their flights all came at like 6 or 7. By the time I flew from Omaha, I would have gotten there at 10. And they're like,
Mm.
oh, we can't wait that long because we're going to be driving in the snow at like midnight.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So then that's when I got a hold of Lisa, and Lisa's like, oh, I'm totally down.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, let's do it. So as I'm driving, I'm trying to find rental cars before I hop on
Oh,
the plane.
yes.
There's no rental cars. And I'm like, we're not going to get a rental car until like noon tomorrow. And she's like, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out when I land because she landed before me
Yeah.
because I had to actually backtrack. So I flew to Denver.
Oh
So
my
my
goodness.
layover went west and then I went east. So it added hours to my trip.
Oh my
But then I get
gosh.
there. Yeah, I went to Denver and then I went back east. And then as I'm late, no, it was in my layover in Denver. She was like, oh my gosh, Duran's on my flight. And I was like, oh, thank God we have a third person going with us. Like
Yeah.
that made me just feel so much better
Yeah.
that we weren't going to be traveling by ourselves. So then I land there and it was just, I swear, when I saw Lisa and Duran, I almost wanted to cry because I was like, I made it. I'm here. I cannot believe I got here. And I don't know. I mean, I landed shortly after 10 because all my flights were delayed.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to land at 10. I think I landed at like 10:30 or something. I actually had to literally run from my flight in Denver to catch my connecting flight, and they were already boarding.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was like running onto that flight to make it because I was like, I swear if I'm stuck in Denver. So I literally ran in the
Those
airport to
little
get
legs.
there. Yeah. And then Duran found us an Uber.
Yeah, because I was trying to get you guys a rental car from whatever the beach house, but you'd have to like return them in Charlotte. So Duran's like, please cancel this reservation because I'm not driving
Yeah.
back to Charlotte. I was like, oh, oops, okay. I didn't know what I clicked on.
Yeah. So this man so graciously took on his first long distance voyage as an Uber driver who
There's a
is an
story.
immigrant from Russia. So his English is not very well. And he had this huge successful like catering business out in Russia. So he's driving us I mean, what was it, like a 4 hour drive,
Yeah.
maybe? I don't even know. And it's, midnight at this point.
Hmm.
And this man is scrolling his Instagram and showing Duran his business that he had in Russia. And I mean, it looked like great food and it was very beautiful pictures,
I feel
but
it. Look
he
at
was
the road.
literally driving in 2 lanes, like in the middle. And I'm like, what is going on here?
You're like, I
And
made
I
it this
remember
far. I
Lisa
don't know if
kept
we're gonna
like,
make it to Charleston.
yeah, Lisa kept like tapping on his seat and she was like, you okay there, buddy? And then she would like be like, Duran, like, what's going on? Like, why are you talking to this guy? Quit encouraging
Don't
him.
distract him.
And Duran was like, I just wanted him to stay awake. Like, I wanted to keep the conversation going. Like, it was so scary.
Yeah, because I
Um,
couldn't sleep either. I just was like, I just wanted to hear that you guys were home. And then when Duran came in, I like, because I feel like you came in at like 3 a.m. or something.
Something like
And that's
that.
when I was like, okay. And then he took a shower, and that's when I was like, okay, all is well. And then so Thursday morning, we just kind of bumped everything for the retreat. We bumped it up a few hours to give people like time to get there. And then I was expecting you guys to be like, oh, like so tired looking. And I like, oh my gosh, like you look like fresh as a daisy. I'm like, so then hearing the backstory of how like you hadn't slept like for 24 hours before that, I'm even more impressed. Like you just were like, boop, okay, ready to go, looking so good. Yeah, but there were
I
some really good stories of the arrival, but it just made it like so much more like we're here together. Like, I don't know, it was
You
awesome.
so graciously put in all of our welcome packs eye patches. That I feel like that's my retreat ritual is like
Yeah.
I shower and I get up and I can't sleep. I always get up at 8 a.m. every morning just because my kids go to school. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like Sunday morning, I'm up at 8 a.m. Um, so I was up at 8 a.m. in
Oh, your
Charleston.
time. Yeah.
I'm in, and so I'm up, and so I showered and I got ready, and I put on the eye patches while I got ready, and I went out and I had coffee, and you were like, "Whoa, like,
Yeah, you look beautiful.
what do I normally look like?"
Yeah, oh, that was just such a fun day. So I cannot
Yeah.
wait. So Scottsdale's coming up in November, so
Yes.
I don't know, save the date. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Well,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
Fingers crossed.
I know.
My parents might move here, so my husband and I are like, if they move here, we're gonna dump the kids on them and make a trip out. So
Oh
hopefully,
my gosh, that'd be awesome. Yes.
yeah,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
us,
So
we could have like a
hopefully,
little interracial double date before or after the retreat. That'd be so because Duran's gonna be down there too. Then we'll see who's gonna get the check. So where can listeners find you to follow along on your next promotional event with Sailor Sewing?
we're Saylor.sewing on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay, well, thank you, Susie, and keep doing what you're doing. And this was so fun. So thanks for sharing your story.